All right, we're revisiting an issue that we have previously discussed. How have my opinions changed, if at all? Let's see. Hello and welcome to another episode of the HEMA Show.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit.
I, like always, am your host Stuart, and this is edited by my mate Andy. I can't help but chuckle every time I say that because I know how much work he has to put in to make me look vaguely competent. All I can say is sorry, mate. I'll try to be less shit in future. I won't, but I'll try. Cool. Excellent. Right, so on to today's video. National governing bodies. Big fuck off, bold words. National governing body. The ongoing battleground saga clusterfuck that is the gentlemanly, polite, considered, tactful discussion that always happens in opposite land. It is always a massive dick-waving contest that descends into absolute bullshit of infighting. It's fucking childish.
Jesus Christ.
Right, let's go. Get out. Jesus, come out swinging in this video. Christ, this is not going to go down well. Give a shit. Right, so I think you're fairly straightforward where I lie on this. The reason why I wanted to come back to this, I never wanted to come back to videos. I hate circling back to videos and mining your own shit. It feels lazy and creatively bankrupt to mine your own videos. But I recently had a conversation with someone, and it was a really good conversation about NGBs. And it kind of, I have different feelings, I have different opinions on it. They're the same, but they're like the same allegiance, however problematic that word is at the moment. It's of the same camp, but slightly different. So it's worth going through it. I am very pro NGB. I've come from sports in the past that have NGBs. A lot of them have been shit. A lot of them have been very shit. I mean, I come from fencing, and British fencing, whilst a national governing body, allegedly are very, very bad. Unorganised, slow, bit dim. But, you know, they're there. Then why am I pro NGB? The reason is we need to know what bloody page we're on. What are we doing? Fundamentally, whether you are pro-control, anti-control, pro being told what to do, anti being told what to do, whatever your reasons, whatever your harebrained reasons are for wanting them or not wanting them, fundamentally, we all need to know what bloody page we're on. As frustrating to deal with as British fencing is, allegedly, you know you can go to any fencing club in the country, probably in the world, probably in the world, and know what you're getting into. It may be rubbish, the quality may be low, they may be unorganised, but you know what fencing is when you're there. You know what you should be getting yourself into, so you have much more of an informed opinion. With HEMA, we don't have that luxury. Say you go to a HEMA club in one town. That's sweet. I finally found a HEMA club that's near me. You may be walking into a club that's entirely academic. Okay, you might be going, where's all the sword fighting? There's people talking about this I-33 thing. What the hell is that? Who the hell's Talhofer? Whereas you may go into a HEMA club the very next day in a different town and end up in a hyper-competitive, purely sports environment where people are fighting and learning from experience and are being coached actively on piste, helping them learn, and then people are discussing these things on the periphery to aid them. So you have two very different clubs. Neither one is more right or wrong than the other one. Who gives a shit how you run your club? I don't. I run my club the way that I run it. I don't care how someone else runs their club. I barely have enough time to care about what I'm doing. I don't know what anyone else is doing. So yeah, neither one is any more right or any more valuable than the other. If anyone says that one way is better or worse than the other, and that you should adjust to that, tell them swiftly to fuck right off. Because you do what you want to do, man. You find a way to do what you want to do. Don't let anyone tell you what the hell to do. That's ridiculous. Pisses me off when people do that. Anyway, rant over. You can look up and want to start HEMA, but you can find yourself at drastically different clubs depending on where you are and what that club is doing. And fundamentally, at the basest level, a national governing body will help clean that up. Now, I don't really care about branding or whatever. We just need to know what the hell we're doing, what we're getting into. We need to know what bloody sport we're doing. Because at the moment, some clubs and other clubs are totally different experiences, and they're coming under the same banner, and we're not doing each other any bloody favours. There seems to be this squabbling, infighting and battling. I'll circle around to that in a minute because that's another annoying thing. And so as a new customer, you'll be like, ah, sweet, I just want to mess about with a couple of mates, learn a bit of sword fighting, that would be cool. And then suddenly you rock up to essentially a library and people are going through, ah, yes, blah, 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 and you're like, what? Where's the swords? Whereas obviously that's exaggerated to the extreme to make a point. Whereas if someone's more into the history side of stuff, I'm like, sweet, I wouldn't mind learning about swordplay. And they're like, yeah, you know, whatever, I don't mind being able to do it, but I kind of just want to learn about it more. And suddenly they go into a room and they've got what they see as berserkers flying around, ricocheting off everything, smashing into each other. They're going to be like, holy shit, what the hell's going on in here? So it's problematic because it is a barrier to entry because there is no concise definition of what we're doing. Now, for me personally, I know there are a lot of issues from other people that their HEMA may not be what gets classed as HEMA. For me personally, I don't give a shit. I'm not married to the word HEMA, okay? I'm not married to the word HEMA. It doesn't matter, don't care, really don't care. If, for example, a national governing body gets installed, gets elected, and they're like, right, HEMA is a scholarly academic pursuit. If it's not a book on it, it's not HEMA. Fine, I don't give a shit. I will carry on doing what I'm doing. I will change the name. Okay, so it's not HEMA anymore because HEMA is a more scholarly academic thing. Fine, all gravy. I might do that on a different day. What I'm doing is a sport based around medieval fighting. So let's start up a new sport called Knightly Martial Arts, KMA. There we go. KMA, brilliant. Right, we are now smart. Hit KMA. Okay. There's a new sport, KMA, which is much more about the doing of the medieval fighting rather than just purely learning from the books. And that's fine. At least at that point, people know what the hell they're expecting. If people want to do a more scholastic approach to it, they know that they can go to HEMA. They know they can go to a HEMA club anywhere in the country and they know that they are getting HEMA. Whereas if someone wants to fight, they will like, okay, cool. What is sword fighting? Oh, KMA. Okay. Where's a KMA club near me? Here. Brilliant. And they know they can go to any KMA club and receive the same sport, receive the same product. And that is the important part. And who cares if it goes the other way? If people are like, okay, I don't want, my HEMA is scholastic. And suddenly an NGB comes in and they go, no, HEMA is a sport, it is a martial art, end of. Who cares if what you do is no longer associated with these 4 letters? You know, you could just call it Nightly Studies or whatever. You've got KS clubs, okay? Who cares what shit's called as long as people know what they're expecting? At the moment, we've got these 2 almost opposing school of thoughts. And there's no continuity, there's no cohesion. And what basically is happening is, like I said, people are wanting to get into it and it's a fucking crapshoot as to what they're receiving. So fundamentally, we need to get some sort of national governing body organised, if nothing else, purely so we know what the hell we're doing. Because I run my clubs from a more sporting, martial point of view. I would say we do a 70-30% split between practical application and historical learning. What I generally tend to do is I will take a historical text and then I see how we apply it. So the history side of stuff is an inspiration for the practical that we do, and so on and so forth. So we take a nice blend of each, but we do focus more on the doing rather than the reading, which is no more right than any other club that does it the other way around. It doesn't matter, who cares? But we need to understand what the hell we're bloody getting ourselves into, because it is so frustrating. I've got customers that say, okay, I'm off on work, I'm going on holiday or whatever, there's a club near me, is it worth going? And kind of, unless I know the club, I'm going, no, I don't know if they're going to be stood around playing top trumps with books or if they're going to be fighting. And it is a real problem. And honestly, we all collectively, and people like me are the issue. I'm very aware of that. People that are club owners, club organisers, people that are renowned in the HEMAverse, not saying that I'm renowned in the HEMAverse, we all need to pull our heads out of our asses and actually talk to each other like grown-ass adults and be like, what are we doing here? Yeah? Show of hands. Who wants HEMA to be a sport? Boom. Who wants HEMA to be an academic pursuit? Boom. Right. You guys got majority. You got HEMA. We'll fuck off and call our stuff something else. And then let's work together. Let's help each other get better. Yeah? I know I'm being condescending and patronising, but honestly, it's getting to the point where it's getting a bit daft. And we need to actually act our sodding age over this and come up with a decent compromise, a decent solution that we're all happy with so we can actually know where we stand. It's really frustrating me. Now, obviously, having a national governing body, there are other fringe benefits as well. We can have insurance. We can go to an insurance provider. Bluefin is a typical sports provider. They do a huge amount of sports insurance. We can actually get a universal HEMA insurance because we have a national governing body. At that point, starting up a HEMA club, you can be like, okay, right, starting a HEMA club, what do I do for insurance? I'll just get my national governing body's insurer, and that's fine. That's much in the same way that British fencing insurance works, is that by becoming a British fencing member, you have access to British fencing's insurance, which is underwritten by Bluefin. So that is a benefit that we have. If we have a national governing body, we can have kit regulations. So we can actually make sure that people's kit is bloody well safe. Now, at the moment, it's the Wild West. People can turn up in whatever the hell kit they want. There's no regulation other than kind of self-enforced regulation. There's no standard kit requirement. I mean, how often on social media have you seen pictures of clubs of people with sometimes of steels and just a mask and gloves? You know, we can actually say, right, we're not telling people not to do it, but Christ, let's just be safe. You know, this is a list of approved kit providers. This is a list of approved kit for approved levels of fighting or approved levels of interaction, whatever the hell you want to call it. And actually, we know how to bloody work. We can have coaching, for Christ's sake. We can actually have qualified coaches in this bloody country rather than having to go abroad to do it. We can have CPD for our coaches. We can actually control the qualifications and level and quality of our coaches to make sure that the customers get a decent level of service. You can actually do a huge amount once we have a national governing body. And it's increasingly frustrating to someone like myself who's come from an external sport and has kind of mutated into HEMA, that there's such lack of control. In a certain way, it's cool. We can do whatever the hell we want. You rock up, do partisan for a while. All right, sweet. It's pretty cool. Don't kill anyone. But actually, is that freedom worth absolutely no control? Is that freedom worth absolutely no definition? Is that freedom worth chaos and anarchy? Not massively, no. I mean, there are clubs that are fantastic. They are doing great work competitively. There are clubs that are fantastic and doing great work academically. Huge, I don't care whether you're academic. I want to make this super bloody clear. I don't care if you're a sports club or if you're an academic club. Whatever. It's all good from my point of view, okay? Just because I choose to do my club one way doesn't mean that any other way is wrong, okay? But yeah, so just because you choose to do your club one way, it doesn't mean that the other way is wrong. And yeah, we just need to make sure that actually there are some great clubs doing some great stuff. But just by having a little bit of control from a national governing body, we can really make sure that the dangerous clubs, the wildly unacceptable clubs that are doing weird and dangerous shit and are currently detrimental to the sports, are actually wheedled out, or at least, if nothing else, controlled. We can be like, okay, dude, that's not safe. You need to do your coaching qualification. You know, or this is not safe for various reasons. We can actually, everyone will benefit because the dangerous shit will get knocked out straight away, and it will only benefit us. Yes, it will be slightly more regulated, it will be slightly tighter, but it will be so much more progressive. We'll have so much more to do. It's really important. So that's where I stand. Honestly, it baffles me. It really does. It really does baffle me that we don't have a national governing body, and there is such resistance to a governing body. I get it from a certain point of view, like a cognitive dissonance thing. I get it. I totally understand why some people don't. But honestly, what we would receive from a good national governing body far outweighs the negatives from having one. Now, here's something that this is soapbox moment, by the way. Here's something that I really want to make clear. Just because somebody has a different view on something that you may do, it doesn't bloody well mean they're against you. A conversation is something to have, not to win. A match is something to win. A conversation is something to have. Just because, I see this time and time again, or whenever anyone brings up national governing bodies, it turns into a sweaty slap fight.
Larry! Larry, you can't just... Oh,
Larry! Oh, are you all right? How did...
Larry!
And it becomes unproductive. But just because somebody has a different opinion to you, it doesn't mean that they're against you. Talk to them. Let's engage each other in conversation. Be like, okay, well, why do you feel like that? Why don't you want a governing body? Or why do you want a governing body? If we talk to each other, maybe we can actually change minds or get ideas from each other. We're all doing the same sodding sport and we all want the same thing, which is to grow, to make our stuff better. But without a clear line to go, shit's just going to go wild. We all need the same thing, but we're coming at it from an adversarial point of view, and that is driving me nuts. There are certain prominent people within the HEMAverse and on YouTube that are very anti-national governing bodies, and that's fine. Just because they want something different to me. It doesn't mean that we necessarily wouldn't be mates if we were to meet up in the real world. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're vehemently opposed to each other as people just because we have different ideas on something. Just because someone is proposing something you don't agree with, you don't need to stand your corner and vehemently defend or fight. It's driving me nuts. I would like to think that actually if I were to try, not that I am, but if a governing body was being set up, a conversation would be brilliant. Talk to as many people that are opposed to it as possible. Find out what the concerns are. Learn from it. See if you can implement something that would accommodate those concerns. If you find that you can accommodate those concerns, you'll probably find that you can work around it. But I really think that a governing body is an important thing to have. But until we engage each other and talk to each other properly about why some people do and don't want it, we're going to go around this same circle jerk time and time and time again. So a governing body is really, really important because we all want to progress. We all want the same thing. We all want to get better. But it's just somehow the messages get lost because people are kind of bouncing off of each other a little bit. And it drives me nuts. It really, really is. Anyway, so I kind of come back to that because originally I was, yeah, governing body would be cool. Coming from a fencing background, governing body is useless, but it's very handy to know what we are. But I've just seen, and I'm not going to name and shame or even say what social media platform I've seen it on, but I've seen people get quite unpleasant over just simple discussions of governing bodies. And it was a moment where I went, why is this so divisive? Even if you don't agree with someone, just talk to them nicely, man. Just let's have a conversation about it. Like I say, just because somebody wants something different to yourself, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the enemy.
We're in the home of the enemy, Kathleen!
And that you can't be mates and you can't be getting on. You know, it's weird. It's weird. This desire to be the rightest person in the room. It's very strange to me, very alien. Anyway, soapbox over. Let's have a look at our Q&A section. Okay, so today's question comes from someone who I'm just going to refer to as the G-Man. So the G-Man asked me, what are my opinions on non-sword related attacks? So from this, he means pommel strikes, punches, kicks, and grapples. Honestly, yes, fine, don't worry about it. Providing on a couple of things, obviously. Fundamentally, don't be a dick. If you are using punches, grapples, kicks, pommel blows, when they're not needed, that is classed as being a dick. So what I mean by that is it's contextual. Using them in the correct context. Say you've got two decreasing distances, fighter A, fighter B. Don't know why fighter B just did a little dance. Both fighter A and fighter B attack at the same time and end up kind of opposing parries and getting too close, and you can't really get the blade in to do anything. That's when some sort of body contact is really helpful. You can use a punch to gain distance. You can kick them backwards. You can grapple them, assist them to the floor, and secure a yield or anything like that. That's when it's okay. Secondly, can't be percussive, or at least I would like it to not be percussive. I would like it to be progressive. Now, what I mean from that is that a punch, bang, not really helpful. Okay, but a punch, push. So if they're close to you, and you can't really get a decent enough attack, you can punch to push them back to create the distance to then strike back in with the sword. Like so with the pommel strikes and also kicks as well. If they're progressive, you can push them out the way to gain the distance. And for grapples, as long as you assist them to the floor, as long as you just don't dump them on the floor, then you should be fine. If possible, try and grab, as you say, you know you've got them going down, at least try and assist them down just to take the sting out of the fall as they go to the ground. And make sure that you don't just splammo. Make sure that you try to not let them land on their head, their elbows, their wrists, or make sure the sword isn't tangled up where possible. So it's about doing these things and not being a dick whilst do them. And finally, just make sure you got consent. It's easy to get consent from someone. Just ask, are you okay with body contact? Yeah, sweet, let's roll. No? Then fine, remember not to. But yeah, make sure that it's contextually right. Don't just be like, guard, ready, fight, smash. It's not going to help for anyone. So make sure context is there. Make sure it's progressive rather than percussive, purely because 9 times out of 10 you're going to be fighting your mates, and you will find that if you start punching your mates, they will soon start punching you back. And thirdly, make sure your opponent's okay with it. Other than that, fill your boots, my man. Right, on that note, I'll catch you guys next week. Bye.